what we're going to be tackling today, educating the passive investor, the 7 must-haves for success. So this is really important if you're an active investor. So if you are trying to raise capital from other investors, I'm going to help you go through some funnel hacks that are going to make that educational process with your investor smoother, easier, and more impactful. And if you're a passive investor, stay here because these are great kind of tools and tips to really understand how companies work with you and to get you the education that you need in order to make an investing decision. So again, it works for both active and passive investors. All right. Let me just navigating a couple screens here. So let's kick it off. Guys, you might recognize, I'm not Dan. So new face here. My name is Whitney Elkins-Hutten. I am the Director of Investor Education here at PassiveInvesting.com. I just recently joined the team. But however, I'm not new to real estate. I'm not new to passive investing either. So many of us might already know each other, but if we don't, welcome. I look forward to working with you in the future here at PassiveInvesting.com and Multifamily Investor Nation. So just a little bit about myself. I started off real estate investing in 2002. Totally by accident. I was doing live-in flipping and house hacking, and actually I bought a house with a significant other, and the relationship fell apart just about a week later or about a month later, and here I had a house. So I shoved it full of roommates and needed a rehab, and then I was so scared I decided to sell the property about 11 months later. And that's when it hit me that I had actually been making money the whole entire time. I sold the property at a profit and I hadn't been paying for my mortgage the whole time. And I was just like, how many more of these type of transactions can I do? It took me a few years to realize with all the live-in flipping and house hacking that I was doing, I was building up nice buckets of equity, but I wasn't able to actually unlock those golden handcuffs and create cash flow and step away from my job. And then by this time I'm married. My husband's joining me in my antics, and we scaled to a 30-unit single-family rental portfolio, and we were still doing about 4 flips a year, so we were very active in our portfolio. And then I went to my husband and I said, hey, look at all this passive income that I'm creating. I would love to start taking advantage of the reason why we did this, which is so I could step away from my job, help take care of our family, and just be more present and have that time freedom, choice freedom. And that's when my husband decided he wanted the same, and we hadn't built that into the model. Long story short, we just realized we needed a different way to scale our portfolio. So we turned to multifamily investing on the activist side. But it took us a long time to kind of re-engineer all of our systems, and we had capital that we needed to deploy. So in the interim, we got involved into limited partner investing. And that's when the light bulb went off for me, and I realized that I had actually had increased my returns probably more than I could have on my own in multifamily investing, because I was getting an immense return on my time, my attention, and my freedom by being a passive investor. Anyways, fast forward here, we've done over 38 passive deals. We have 6,300 units in our portfolio, but most importantly, I have 100% choice of my time and attention and freedom. And I get to spend it here with you guys today. I also get to spend it with our 9-year-old daughter, who actually, she'll remind me today, she turned 9.5, so it's her half birthday. And then also with my husband, we live in Boulder, Colorado. And you can find me at any point in time out on the hiking trails, camping, just enjoying nature. Anyways, that's a little bit about me. And so I'm so happy to share this message with all of you guys here today, whether you're active or passive investing. So let's launch into our topic. And again, we've got the different points we're going to cover here today. But really what we're going to tackle is like the passive investor funnel. What is that journey that as an operator that we should be taking that passive investor on and helping them understand what passive investing truly is? And then more importantly, what is the impact that it can create in their life? And then moving them into, hopefully at some point in time, investing with you. So let's go through the 7 steps of this journey. So, and some of these may not be novel to you at all, okay? But I just want to make sure that we kind of create a clear picture and then give you some tips, tricks, and hacks in here to make this operate a lot smoother for you. So number 1 is the top of the funnel. You know, I think of this, the investor journey. I come from sales operations. And so the top of the funnel is essentially, it's a sales funnel. Okay, so we're trying to, I don't know if you guys can see me on video, we're trying to cast a wide net that bring the right person into our world. Okay, just like the passive investors trying to work the various various operators that they're working with through a funnel as well, so they get matched with the right operator. So we're helping them make this decision. So step number one, free education. Okay, this can be through YouTube, podcasting, and blog. However, I always suggest starting with video first. Why? Because it's quick. It allows you to get in touch with the investor in a real kind of almost like conversation-like environment. And then you can take that video and then slice and dice it in what we call spiderweb that content into different media. We can create audio files from it, blog posts from it, chop it up into various social media type posts. But this allows us to really create a conversation with the investor. We get to tell aspirational stories. We get to tell our belief shifts, much like what I just did with you guys earlier, like, the light bulb moments for us. And really, when we create this content, we need to do two things. We need to educate and entertain. So this is where you really get to allow your personality to come through. And I think that's one of the biggest errors that people do when they are trying to create this type of content, video content or audio content, is they get very scripted and they have their talking points, they're very tactical, and they forget to actually allow their personality, their quirks come through, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want somebody to resonate with you as a person, because if you're an operator, you are the company. Okay, so we want to make sure that people get to resonate with you. All right, number two, we want to direct that free content. We want to have a call to action. We only want one call to action. Okay, this is an area that I see people do quite often in any type of marketing. Is they say, oh, you can find me on my webpage here, or email me here, or go onto this landing page and get a free download. What we want is one call to action at the end of that free content. And that call to action should be to helpful content. Okay, something very quick and digestible, like a checklist or a quiz. Okay, and when you serve up that one little piece of content, that is when you can actually entice the investor to jump on a phone call with you. Everybody has a huge amount of pressure in their time and attention, and it's a hard barrier for people to overcome to be able to give up 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour to speak with you on the phone. So think about having your call to action and your free content go to a piece of quick digestible content that's super helpful, not salesy, but really at the end of the day, you're serving up another valuable piece of content with them for them to get in touch with you on a phone call. Okay. And again, just to draw out what that error is that we oftentimes see, is that people will actually have their content either go multiple places, multiple calls to action, or they'll try to get the investor directly on a phone call with them, which is actually a very huge barrier to cross. All right. Once we've served up that nice piece of digestible content that's super valuable, we want to get them immediately on a call. Okay. So if you're directing people to a landing page and you're giving them like a download or a checklist or something like that, make sure that once they fill out the free form to get your content, that you're moving them immediately to your calendar to schedule a call. It should be like immediate. Okay, they shouldn't have to actually go to their inbox and find a scheduling link or anything like that. You can use a tool like Calendly and do a web embed. There's a Mimiso. There's other scheduling appointment tools that you can use, but make sure that you are immediately serving up your calendar to where they can actually get the free content and schedule with you immediately right there. Okay. Once you have them schedule a call, it's really up to you whether you want to do phone or Zoom. Really, I kind of go back and forth between video or having a live conversation. Really, what the errors that I see here is either the call is too short, say like only 10 minutes, or it's too long, so you schedule your calls for 30 or 60 minutes. I find the sweet spot to be about 20 minutes for these calls. but make sure that you, when you hold your calls, you're going to be in a nice, quiet place, no cars, no restaurants, and that the call is actually with somebody who's super passionate about your business. And it doesn't have to be you, right? This is where it's, immensely helpful to bring people into your world that are super passionate about investing, or passive investing, or just, have really great sales skills. Okay. So you don't want that call to be robotic and kind of like a checklist, right? You want to, that is the person's first live probably their second live interaction with you, but your first live interaction with your company direct. And you want to make sure it's a very nice impression. Okay. And also in that call, you're vetting the limited partner as well. Okay. So make sure that that is somebody who can ask questions and draw out all the different points that you need to capture on that call as well. Right. After we have sent them through this top part of the funnel, now we're getting into the vetting part, the qualifying part of the funnel. So we need to make sure that we are sending the investor through an onboarding sequence. Now, this onboarding sequence can actually happen at the same time that the investor is waiting for their call, right? Maybe they can't get on the call with you for 1 or 2 or 3 days, maybe up to a week. But we can send them through some sort of onboarding sequence to where they're getting to know the company and you. And this can be general education about the company. It can, be like quick little videos about meet the team, what markets you're in, what your investment strategy is, and why you do it. Okay. If you do have some 506C, 506 Charlie investments open, you could serve these up as well. That's really entirely up to you if you wanted to do that. But you want to give away just enough information for them to get to know you, but not enough information to keep them from actually getting on the call. And why is that? Okay. I know people that really try to hone in their funnel and they're like, oh, my 506C accredited investors, if I never get on the phone with them, that's okay. Statistically, if somebody gets on the phone with you, they're more likely to invest, and probably a lot more likely to invest at a larger dollar amount. So really jumping on that phone call with them is super important for you to understand who the investor is, what their investing goals are, and really help them match the dollars that they've worked hard for into the right investment. Okay. All right. Once we get on the call, we want to make sure that we're actually pre-framing the call and helping them, again, guide them through the process and guide them through the journey of how they can get from point A to point B, with point B actually getting into the investment. So when we jump on a call with them, we want to give them a pre-frame. Okay. And this is just to help set the direction of the call and keep it contained within the time that we've given it. So I like saying, hi, it's a pleasure to get on the phone with you today. I would like to get to know you better in your investing goals. Maybe we can talk about our background here at passiveinvesting.com, any questions you might have, and then wrap up with how best we can work together. Okay, so again, I'm telling them exactly how the call is going to go. And then I wrap up with, does that sound good to you? And if they agree to the agenda of the call, then it makes it super easy for me to guide them through the process, and we get they get their questions answered, and we get the information that we need as well to make the call SEC compliant, Security and Exchange Commissions compliant. All right. And if you have opportunities on the horizon, you can kind of float these out there as well, right? Because at the end of the day, even if an investor filled out the form and they say they're not going to want to invest for 3 to 6 months, if the right opportunity is in front of them, they may jump on it now. So make sure that we actually, at any point in time, that you're always trying to match them to an investment, even if the investment's outside of their investing timeline. Allow them to be able to say no to the investment. All right. If they're a fit, moving on to the next step, if they're a fit, we're going to immediately get them a post-investor call kit. And in that call kit, it can be an email, it can be like, a document, but you want to make sure you close the conversation with getting them additional company information to where they can access who you are as a company, your team, your strategy, your track record with any sort of exits that you've had, any current opportunities that you investing opportunities that you may have. And then if you have them, links to videos or testimonials of satisfied investors. Okay, so it can be links in an email, it can be like a one-page document or a nice, beautiful deck. Any of these would suffice, but we want to make sure that we're giving all of the investors some sort of post-call follow-up. Okay, and then this again will help fill in the gaps of any questions that you might not have been able to address on the call. All right, so that brings us to step 7. Okay, step 7, even though we've gotten through the initial onboarding sequence, now it's time to nurture the investor. Okay, and I suggest doing all of these type of things. Okay, but at minimal, have some sort of newsletter that you put out, either an email, it's probably the simplest thing, the lowest bar to entry. If you can send out a mail newsletter, that would be great as well, because then investors can kind of hand it out to their buddies, investment buddies. Okay, but have something tangible. Okay, something they can always like, you stay top of mind. All right, you can send it out weekly, bi-weekly. Also think about holding, on a quarterly basis, kind of a state of the union of the company. Markets move fast. Operators bring on new investment strategies. They open up to new markets, right? Make sure that you're having some sort of state of the union of the company on a quarterly basis, so the investor can stay in touch with you on how your business is shifting, and you can bring them along for the rides in that shift. Okay, and then any type of media or press that you're putting out there, maybe additional webinars, conferences that you're going to, meetups you're going to be at, make sure you're sending that out on a consistent basis to your list. Now, for me, I have to admit, I don't always read to the bottom of the newsletter. So make sure that if you're going to be at a conference and you want to actually meet up with your investors, that you're sending out a separate email for that, so they don't have to read through all this information kind of buried super deep in that email. All right. So again, we'll just sum up the 7 steps really fast. Okay, I know, guys, I went through that conversation really quickly. While I'm summing this up, if you guys want to jump over to the Q&A section and ask any questions that you may have, I would love to answer those for you as well. One, top of the funnel, get some free education out there. Okay, think about hitting as many channels as you can, right? And YouTube, is huge. I mean, it has millions and millions of people hosted on YouTube. Okay, so does podcasting, right? It's not just about how many people you have in your world, it's how many people actually access the platform. But think about, if you have limited time, right? If you're just launching your syndication business, think about how you can create one piece of content, stellar piece of content on one channel, and then spider web it across the internet, essentially. Okay. Number 2, get them to some sort of free, helpful, downloadable, digestible content. Okay. 1, 2 pages. Okay. Gone are the days where somebody can read, you can rely on your investors to read like a 30 or 40 page ebook. You can still do that. You can serve that up later, but what quick digestible content can they access now from you? And how can you immediately feed that into the 3rd step, which is have them schedule their call, all right? And then start sending them through an onboarding sequence while they are waiting for their call. Hold your call, make sure it's SEC compliant, but also, again, this is an amazing interaction with your company. And then if you've determined they are a good fit, that you have an amazing post-call follow-up sequence, again, getting as much information as you can in their hands, whether they've asked for it or not, that just lends to trust and credibility, that's the reason why people invest with you. And then you have a great and powerful nurture follow-up sequence. All right, guys, I'm going to jump over in the chat box and start answering questions. If you need a drop, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to register for the MIFN Virtual Summit, and we look to see you there in January. Let's see. When is it good and what do you use for a legal document for investors to sign on with you? Ooh, Chris, a great question. I have not actually gone so far as to like have investors, sign any sort of document. What we're talking about right here is a marketing sequence. I suppose if you have some sort of, I don't know, like if you need them to sign some sort of non-compete or non-disclosure of like your deals and stuff like that, make sure that they sign that information prior to you actually giving them the content. But again, this is just, everything here that we've talked about is just about how do we vet that investor and make sure that we fit in their world and they fit in our world. Let's see. How do you deal with non-accredited investors? Oh, so, well, Chris, I would love to, know more about, specifically what your question is. But if you have like a sophisticated investor, the only kind of nuance here is you can't share any deals with them until after they've gotten on the call with you. And you technically have allowed them. There's a little bit of gray area here with the SEC, but it might be best that they actually stay in your nurture funnel for about 30 days before you start actually sending them live deals. Now, every company does that differently. Every lawyer probably advises a little bit different on that, but that might be a good process for you to kind of entertain there. So just to sum that up real quick for everybody, if you have a non-accredited investor, you just can't serve them up any deals, okay? You can show them a 506C deal, 506 Charlie deal. However, they can't invest in it, okay? But you can't show them any 506B deals before them actually physically getting on the call with you. So that brings up a really good point. If you are in your form when your investor signs up for your website, if you need to ask if they're accredited or sophisticated, and if they're sophisticated, continue to keep in touch with them until they actually get on a phone call with you. I just will, straight up tell the investor, I can't show you any deals until we have a conversation. And they generally will kind of filter themselves out, right? Either if they never schedule a call, they probably weren't that serious to begin with as an investor. And if they, otherwise, if they're like, oh yeah, I really want to see some deals, they're gonna get on that call. Follow-up question to the first one: when is it good for you to use a legal document for investors to sign with you? I guess what's centered around NDA and promissory note when ready to invest. Yeah, so if when they're ready to invest with you, or they have a deal that you have a deal that you want to show them and they want to see, that would be a good time to actually have them sign some sort of non-disclosure agreement, and to get access to the rest of that information. And if you're using a portal, there might be a way to serve that up in a portal upon login or registration whenever they actually like create an account. Otherwise, you can just serve that up via DocuSign. But everybody will have their different process. Your lawyer will probably give you a different process depending on what type of deal it is. All right, guys. We got just a couple more minutes open for questions. So jump on over to that Q&A box, type in your questions, and I would love to get this answered for you. And let's see here. Oh, a couple questions came in. Am I sharing slides? No, I don't have any slides today, guys. But if you join in the MFIN Virtual Summit, I'll definitely have some additional information to share with you guys there. We'll dive super deep into the investor funnel, and I'll share specific resources and stuff like that. A lot more than what I have time to share with you guys here. All right. Well, I'll hang out here for a couple more minutes, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. Also, happy Thanksgiving. I know, thank you guys for taking your most valuable resource, which is your time, out of your busy day and sharing it here with me. I am super honored for that. And we'll see you here, guys, next week for the next topic. We'll be sending that out shortly. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.